Hello everyone, this is Boricua Binks and welcome back to Let's Play Seduce Me to the Demon War. In the last episode, we were getting some more training done with Shadow and we found out some interesting stuff about him. Kinda creepy, but interesting. He's pretty much saying he gave up his soul for the ability to control fear. Because fear is darkness or whatever. So that was a little. Huh. I don't know. I found him to be quite an intriguing character. I like him a lot so far. And yeah, so we're gonna continue on with our training now. So let's get started. Okay. I nodded before looking around, trying to figure out how I was going to find Shama and defend myself before she got to me and killed me. I wasn't sure how shadows got around in the other plane, but I was going to find out. I looked to the ground, not seeing anything pass by me, then looked to the light sources. If I remembered anything from the day before, it was that you needed to control the light to distract your target or protect your shadow from being used. I held my breath, trying to focus on the lights versus hearing my breathing whisper through the room. I wasn't going to let her take advantage of me. Suddenly, I faintly hear a flame whip to the side, causing me to turn and see Shama rushing at me with her knife. I quickly parried, pushing her back.
Good. Again.
Okay. As quickly as she had come, Shama vanished once again to hide. I could tell I was going to get a workout. Soon enough, she began to attack in plain sight, turn the room dark, even use my shadow against me. I had to maneuver around it all. I continued to fend off her attacks for the entire day until I was excused to my room for the night. The day at last ended, and I wound up slowly walking towards my room. I was tired and ready to hit the pillow, but as I entered, I stared at who was there waiting for me. Zero? Huh, that's interesting. Zero stood in the middle of the room, staring hard at me as if I had done something wrong.
Do you know what a stone destiny is?
A stone destiny? I had never heard of such a thing. Did it have something to do with the angels? I tilted my head, making Zero sigh and lower his head.
A stone destiny binds a person's entire life towards a specific direction. It could be for good, it could be for evil. However, when a stone destiny is set, almost nothing can stop it from taking its course.
Oh, okay. A stone destiny, huh? Why are you bringing this up? Zero looked up at me and closed his eyes, resolved in explaining to me whatever was on his mind. What he told me, however, shocked me.
I believe that your fiancé is locked in a stone destiny.
Oh no. Is that why he's gonna change? Or he's changing? Oh, that's not good. What? That made no sense. James was locked in a stone destiny. What did that have to do with anything? Where did this come from? As Seto watched my expression, he continued to speak.
There is only one way to forge a stone destiny, by making a deal with angels. If someone is willing to give angels something worthy, the angels can set and seal someone's life as if in stone. If anything threatens to destroy that destiny, the angels step in.
Oh, so that's why the angels are after me? That was it. That was why the angels were after me. If James was tied to a stone destiny, then the only reason that they were attacking me was because I was in the way of his fate. How could that be, though? What was his destiny? To become the next demon lord? Something in my mind clicked at the thought. Of course, that had to be it. I had taken James away from his destiny and was about to marry him. Of course they would be after me. I sat on my bed, shocked and astonished at the news. I felt somewhat relieved that James and I had found a way to stop them, but I still felt the weight of the new information sinking into my thoughts. Seto stepped towards the door and closed it, looking to me.
Breaking a stone destiny is nearly impossible. Nearly.
I looked up at him, anxiousness growing as he repeated the word. There was a way to fix this and set James free. Then how can we set him free from it?
By giving him enough energy to do so himself.
Okay. I stared. It made sense, but giving him energy meant probably sleeping with him. I didn't have much of a problem with it, but sex wasn't something I wanted to do just because it had to be done. Girl. Okay, I kind of understand. You're being forced into it, but that's the man you love, right? So just do it. Get it over and done with. Although I kind of gotta admit, I will tell you this. I don't know. Something feels sketchy about this. Like, I'm not saying that it's not the whole Stone Destiny thing. Maybe that is the case, but something about Seto coming to me privately and telling me this and not including Diana or James or anyone else makes me a little worried and suspicious, especially because Seto has so much anger and resentment towards James, mostly because of, Diana and what she went through, but I don't trust him. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but I think he kind of would have no problem screwing us over if it meant getting revenge for Diana, you know? I, I don't trust him. It was better to make love when the people involved were in the mood to do so, rather than because they had to. Yeah, I know. Seto turned back to the door.
He is a powerful incubus, but he isn't powerful enough to break through his destiny unless you help him.
Before he left, however, I stopped him. Here we go. See? So she's suspicious too. Good girl. I'm proud of you. Something seemed off with Seto being the one to tell me. Seto, why are you telling me instead of Diana telling me?
She isn't aware of it. Not many demons know of it or even believe it to be an actual occurrence.
Then how do you know about it? Seto seemed to stand still, letting silence linger in the air. The room began to feel off as Seto stood in his place. I had felt this feeling before, but I couldn't pin down where. Finally, Seto slowly turned his head to me, causing me to silently gasp at what was revealed. In his gold eyes were crosses. Oh, I kind of see that, yeah. Glowing a dark black where his pupils were. The feeling of feathers once again danced around me, causing me to quiver slightly.
Does that answer your question?
I nodded slowly, but frightfully. Seto was an angel? How? He looked like a demon. No one mentioned him being anything close to an angel other than him using holy magic. Did Diana not know either? How was this hidden? His arm has a frickin' wing on it. Look at it. Seto closed his eyes and relaxed a bit as he pressed his lips into a fine line.
I love my lady. I would follow her to the ends of the 5 worlds if she demanded it of me. To see the man she was bound to wed here, locked by a destiny that would have taken my love away long ago. It's maddening. The longer he stays here, the more dangerous his destiny becomes. I've seen visions of what would come to pass if his destiny is fulfilled, and I will do everything to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, at least that's the only good point. Because he loves Diana and wants her for himself, wouldn't it be to his best interest to help me stop this stone destiny thing? So maybe we can trust him in that regard, you know? But, I don't know. He's still a little fishy. I could see the jealousy in Seto's eyes once again. Something burned heavily in Seto's gaze, and didn't dare fade away as he gripped his spear in a white-knuckled grip.
My lady is a queen deserving of the world, not a harem girl for him to ravage in a cage.
Oh, I wonder if he has seen the same thing we have had that nightmare of, us being locked in those cages. Yeah, memories of the nightmare I had long ago flickered in my head. Diana had been in a cage beside me. Did Seto see the same thing? I didn't get the chance to ask. Seto relaxed a bit and glared at me. I could feel a shiver rake up my spine as his words shook my core.
Do not speak of what I am to anyone, or I will set your destiny to die at your husband's hand.
Yikes. Without letting me reply, Seto turned and left the room, leaving me alone to absorb what had happened. I felt the air in the room slowly drift back to normal, but I felt nowhere close to it. How was this happening? Why was this happening? Everything began to clash in my head, causing it to pound heavily in confusion and stress. My thoughts were interrupted as the door opened again, revealing James.
Love? Are you alright?
James. Aw, give me a hug and kiss. I need you. I couldn't control myself. I needed some relief from this entire situation, and I usually found it in James's embrace and against his lips. I stood from the bed and walked over to him, wrapping my arms around him and pulling him into a kiss. James, taken by surprise, gasped against my lips before wrapping his arms around my waist and kissing me back. I let my mind sink into a blank state as I drowned myself in the kiss between us. However, I knew partly why I was doing this, to give James energy. If energy was what he needed to fight this, then I was willing to feed it to him. James pulled away slightly and looked down at me. As he looked into my eyes, he stared in soft surprise and confusion.
Love, is everything alright?
Why would I pull away and snap out of it? No. Give him that energy, girl. I didn't want to tell him what happened. I didn't want him to know what was on my mind. I simply needed to help him in the only way I could, and I needed to not think about what was happening. I pulled him back in and kissed him that much harder, wrapping my hands behind his head and gripping to him tightly. James didn't question me further and tightened his embrace around me, deepening the kiss. Our mouths battled in a dance of dominance, with James winning and me giving in to his passion. I found myself growing weak in the knees with the kiss between us, but at the same time I was floating in a mental cloud nine. My mind knew I could stop now. If he asked, I would come up with an excuse for my behavior, but I was slowly getting into the direction I was taking James toward. As one of his hands slowly slid down my back and hooked itself under my leg and behind my knee, I knew that this was my one chance to pull away before I let myself dive into a most needed sexual ride. Now this is tough because a part of me feels like if I go through with this, he will be a little upset if he finds out, oh, you only had sex with me for this reason and not because you really wanted to. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I can't save. What do I do? If I go all the way, I'll give him the energy, but I don't want him to feel like if I pull away and stop, will she tell him what's going on? I hope I made the right choice. I don't know. I just didn't want to do that for the wrong intentions. this was far enough. I was fine with where we were, and I had given him a good amount of energy. There was no need to go any farther than that. I slowly pulled away, staring up at James lovingly. As he took in the situation, he smiled curiously at me.
I assume you had a good day?
I hope that was enough energy. I just missed you. That's all. I did miss him. A day without him was like waiting for him to get off of work. When he returned, my world felt a bit brighter. Besides, it was an excuse to give him energy without him worrying. James, taking time to calm down, chuckled and laid his forehead on mine.
I love you.
Oh, I love you too. They're so cute. I hope I did the right thing. It's not like I wanted to to give him blue balls or whatever. But I would have felt guilty, you know? We went to bed that night in each other's arms, enveloped by the peaceful dark of slumber. To my surprise, no nightmares came that night. I woke up that morning by myself, alone in bed. James was nowhere to be found, but I had to assume he was out training. We were getting closer and closer to the day when we were going into battle with the Demon Lord, so it made sense for him to be on top of his training. Okay, here's a thought. I've been kind of wondering in the back of my mind about the wives of the other brothers. During this time that we're all training, are they training too? Are they training with each other? Are they training with the brothers? What's going on? It's like, you know they're there, but you don't see them anymore. So it's like, do you guys still exist? That's my only thing. It's like, other than seeing Diana, Zero, and Shadow, and of course James, it's like nobody else is around. So I'm like, huh. I wonder what they're up to. However, I couldn't exactly stop the feeling of loneliness rushing through me. I at least wanted to see him off, but I had to understand. This was preparation for a war. The reward was me going home, after all. I stretched and rubbed my neck, massaging out the tired soreness from sleep in my body. Day 5 in the demon world. Had it really been that long? I wanted to imagine it like a vacation, but the situation was the polar opposite. This was a week away from my normalcy, despite it being barely normal in the first place. Besides, I was marrying a demon. There was nothing normal about that. How much time has gone by in the human world? Were people worried about me by now? Questions plagued my mind for a brief moment before I let out a sigh of defeat. I guess I'll figure it out when I get home. Whenever that is.
Don't worry, darling. You'll be home soon enough.
I turned my head to see Diana standing by the door with a plate of warm pancakes. I would never figure out how Diana managed to make them, but staring at the plate made my mouth water.
Something warm. Here.
We're gonna be best friends now, Diana. I feel like we're bonding, man. Which makes me happy, actually. Diana walked over and handed me the plate and utensils to eat with. I didn't even ask to start eating. The first bite was heavenly, and the expression on my face apparently made Diana chuckle.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
I blushed and swallowed the biteful in my mouth before looking up at Diana. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Diana chuckled as I continued to eat happily. As the thought crossed my mind, I couldn't help but look up and observe Diana as I ate what she made for me. Diana was really doing a lot to help me get home on top of having a war to deal with. I could tell that she had her reasons for doing so, but it seemed like there was a lot of work she had to do, and I felt a little sorry for her. Still, I was thankful that she was willing to help me leave this world for my own. Diana smiled a bit before looking away and sighing. What was on her mind?
Dear, may I ask you something?
Huh? Sure. What was Diana curious about? Diana turned her head to me and stared with a blank expression. I was a little concerned as to why I received such a stare, but I mentally shook it off.
Have you truly dealt with the angel problem? I haven't heard any word from them since last night, so I assume you have. But I need to be sure.
I stared at her for a moment, taking in her question. I really wasn't sure how to answer because it wasn't clear if we managed to get away from the angel's sights or not. They didn't invade my dreams last night, that was for sure. But could that be even considered taking care of the problem? I took a breath before answering, going with my gut. I'm gonna just say I don't know. I really don't. I truly didn't know. All I knew was what Cero told me, but I knew better than to tell Diana that just from what Cero warned me about. Diana's eyebrows furrowed, but she nodded.
I see.
Had to be honest with my girl, you know? Diana stared at me, digging into my gaze to try and find some sort of other answer in my eyes. However, I remained steadfast. I didn't want to worry her any more if James and I could handle it on our own. According to Cero, we could. Diana sighed before turning to leave.
All right. May today go smoothly.
I nodded as she left. I hoped today would go smoothly as well. Another round of surprises would kill me. I don't think that's a good choice of words. I'm gonna just keep sporadically saving. Alright. The minute I stepped into the library, Shadow turned from his scrolls to look at me. That was a first. Was he going to greet me properly now? His raised eyebrow threw me off, though, as if he wasn't expecting me. I walked to the center of the space, summoning my dark dagger and becoming mentally ready for more reactionary defense training. However, Shadow raised his hand to me, causing me to relax a bit.
Your training is over.
Already? Wait, what? What did he mean? I opened my mouth to protest, but Shadow held his stern gaze.
I have taught you how to defend yourself and how to traverse a plane that renders you temporarily untouchable. That was all I was required to teach. You are free to train on your own without a mentor now.
Aw. I felt like I was tossed into the deep end of a lake. I wasn't told anything about losing my trainer at any point. Still, I knew that what he was saying was the truth. He was right. I wasn't expected to learn how to really fight or how to beat someone. All this training was to give me the ability to defend myself. I'd completely forgotten about the reason I had even started. Still, I wanted to learn more. I felt like I was losing a golden opportunity, and I wanted to push forward to learn something extraordinary. It was one thing to duck and dodge an invisible opponent, but it was another to truly use dark magic. Shadow turned away and went back to the table.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I must return to my research. We have a siege in less than 3 days, and I can't waste any more time.
He's a busy man. That hurt a bit. I was wasting his time? I felt some part of me yell that I had wasted my own time. Why was I even here? Teach me something else. I know you're busy, but please. Shadow looked over his shoulder, locking eyes with me. However, he didn't say anything. I could feel his gaze burn into my eyes, judging my words and my desire to learn. I wanted to know something else. I didn't want my training here to end with me going off on my own. I'd only trained for 2 days, for goodness sake. I wanted more. Shadow slowly straightened and turned to face me, crossing his arms.
Very well. I would like to see if you are able to perform a rather difficult spell.
Nice. Lay it on me, bruh. I suddenly became confused. Was it truly something powerful? I thought of 100 things he was going to teach me, but I remained at attention, listening.
The spell I'm about to teach you will become your best weapon in battle. However, it takes a large portion of energy. You may not even stay conscious after casting it. Are you prepared to try?
Yes. I took a moment to consider it. While it seemed powerful, something about it seemed off. I could possibly pass out? Why would I essentially be jumping levels so fast? Was this something I should be afraid of? Do it! I wanted to know. I wanted to experience something new, and if this power was going to be, as he said, my greatest weapon, then I had nothing to lose. It would be worth the attempt. Oof, this is risky. Shadow stared at me for a moment, most likely judging me like he usually did, before nodding and pointing to the wall away from the fireplace.
There.
I looked over and became lost. I saw my own shadow, simply lying against the wall and flickering slightly from the firelight. What was he wanting me to do with it? Before my eyes, my trainer's own shadow crawled up the wall beside mine and began to peel itself off of the wall. I could not believe what I was seeing. It was almost cartoon-like. Soon enough, his shadow was standing on its own in mid-air, away from the wall. He was teaching me how to use my shadow? I closed my eyes, trying to focus and concentrate, before looking to my shadow and attempting to will it off of the wall. It wouldn't move, much to my displeasure, causing me to focus harder. It had to come off of the wall somehow. My shadow began to quake and almost shudder against the wall in defiance, making me glare hard at it. Come on! It shook violently before finally starting to push itself off of the wall into a full three-dimensional being. I stared as it settled onto its feet and stood at attention for me, as if it was awaiting my orders. This was by far one of the coolest things I had done. I felt my energy pulse, draining slowly to maintain the spell, and took a breath. Shadow, however, clapped his hands a couple of times.
Well done, human.
I grinned back at him before watching him form a dark sword in his hand and pass it to his shadow with a look of confusion. At his silence, I tried to mirror him, forming a shadowy blade in my hand the same way I had formed my dagger and passing it to my shadow. For some reason, staring at my shadow holding a sword seemed off to me, but maybe that was because I was a human casting this magic for the first time. There were always times for firsts, after all, and this was definitely an impactful first. Shadow lifted his hand and pointed towards the door. Obeying the silent command, his shadow walked over to the door and stood guard. I didn't know to do that without being told, and wait a minute. Why is it standing guard? I'm worried now. Shadow, please don't betray me. I'm worried. Please don't betray me, sir. Don't turn out to be evil. Of course, Shadow wasn't going to tell me. I looked at my shadow and tried to think of what I could have it do. There were so many things, it was hard to decide. Gazing around the room, there were many places it could go. However, I became curious about the upper level of the library. I pointed into the air at the upper balcony, feeling the need to verbalize my demand echo through my body. Go! Within a blink, my shadow crouched and leapt off of the ground, almost flying through the air and grabbing onto the railing of the upper floor. I stared, jaw dropped, as it vaulted itself over the ledge and turned back to face me. Whoa! Your shadow's cooler than you are, girl. I looked to Shadow, seeing him give a mildly impressed smirk towards my shadow.
I'm rather shocked. It's a shame to think that you're merely a human. You'd make a fine assassin.
Yes, let's do it. I would love to the next game, just me as a shadow assassin. There was a genuine compliment. I was a little surprised to hear him say that without some kind of insult tacked on, but I quickly shook it off. If I had learned anything from this experience, it was to not let my guard down. Luckily, I didn't. I smirked as I noticed Shadow's own entity try and creep up on my shadow. In reply, I quickly shouted, "Defend!" My shadow acknowledged my command, and, as if it knew where its enemy was, it turned and braced itself as my trainer's shadow tried to slice through it. Both swords clashed, causing a splash of dark matter to erupt from the impact. but as soon as it happened, Shadow dispelled his entity with a smirk of his own.
Well done. Very well done.
Yay! I pleased my sensei. I grinned from ear to ear, my shadow disappearing on its own. However, Shadow raised an eyebrow.
Your practice is not over. Again.
Oh dear. I felt another smirk grace my lips. Finally. I trained through the day, stopping every now and then when my energy was low and refueling with food and a break. I was happy to have this new ability, but he hadn't been kidding. It definitely wore me out. Okay, so that seems like a good place to leave it. Oh, great. I'm very happy he didn't just turn evil and try to kill me or something. So the whole thing with Zero and the stone destiny thing, that's interesting, but I'm kind of worried and still not trusting him 100%. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this, and until next time, have a nice day. Bye!